As teased, my AKA Padders, come on, the highly anticipated video on Easter Sunday, the Easter story by Marvel Comics. And Nelson, if you can see that, Nelson is probably the co-publisher. They probably paid to get this book done, but maybe a Marvel affiliation helped with distribution. I'm not going to investigate that too much, but what are we really getting into with this? We're not getting into the cover. This is the great Scott McDaniel. He's also a very hardcore devout Christian. I used to chat with him a lot on AOL Messenger. There was a little bit of a phase where I would send him artwork and he would, respond and tell me nicely told me I sucked. But moving on, hey, a lot of things change. I don't think I suck anymore. And also, cheers. Cheers to the Buffalo Bills losing 4 straight Super Bowls. What are we going to get into here? What are we trying to discover? We're not trying to delve into the actual story of Easter. I don't think that's video worthy. I don't think that's, it's there, but it's not. What I want to delve into here is the idea of an adaptation. What are we adapting? What's our positioning? What's our art direction? And then it's like a little bit of editorial. Like, what are we really doing with captions? What are we doing with thought balloons? What's the overall position? What are we trying to present when we discuss not just Easter, but Marvel Comics and Easter? And, by reading this, because I did read it, it put me on the fence. It put me on the fence of going harder into the art direction, using more of your facilities' resources, meaning better coloring, better artwork, bigger panels, so on and so forth, making it a more exhilarating read. Or, do we tighten things up, get more panels, go more to panel in the reading style, more word balloons, that sort of thing. So let me just show you. We are going to get into the story a little bit because it does matter. But I am excited to bring this to you just because I feel like it should be done, and no one's really doing it, and I don't know why. Because wouldn't you want to know how 1993 Marvel Comics interprets the story of Easter? Let's go. Boom, boom, boom! There it is, Easter story. All right, look, I gotta be honest. I'm a little nervous doing this because there's like real points I want to make, and I don't want to come off as like preachy or seem like I'm talking down to people or anything, but let's just get this out of the way real quick. On my live streams, let's do a little promo. I've been streaming this entire sketchbook, and this is Transformers 2007, the Michael Bay masterpiece. I absolutely love this movie, but we're kind of drawing the entire movie here. And we're working on it live, working on it a little bit between comic pages. So be on the lookout for some of those. Love for you to join me. And also, as always, people, only trust anything from a drawing table that has a Crypt action figure staring you down at all times. So I love the design for this. I love the formatting. I even like the black bars here, because here's what happens. Scott McDaniel, our cover artist, he's great with blacks. Scott McDaniel, and I would say the Death Blow Tim Sale are the two artists that really took the Frank Miller Sin City style to a different level. But the reason why I like the black bars here is we get some good contrast with our back graphic, but I really like the inside covers here. I like to see, like, that's a really good flip. My observation is I feel like this also should be black, but I get the contrast, and I think again, when we go into, even during the time for this, that we're using an app called Quark Express, that was the prominent layout application. You want to be able to draw the eye. And that's really, like, because people will make these assumptions and they'll determine things without really understanding the process and the methods. But the white border here focuses on our boy here, Jesus. So let's get into it. This is our style. This is what I was talking about earlier. We get in there Jesus is preaching on the hill as we would, right? That's what we would expect character-wise. Jesus on the hill is similar to the Dark Knight atop of a skyscraper to open up a Batman story, Superman in the sky, or Clark Kent at his desk. It's essential. But what we get here, we get Judas here already getting the money to turn in Jesus. And the first half of this, it's really Jesus explaining Passover. Passover is when he almost like sacrifices himself. That's why it's called Passover. And he tells Judas, you're going to deny my name 3 times. And Judas is like, you're crazy. Judas doesn't eat the bread that Jesus offers him. The bread is basically Jesus's body. The blood, the wine's his blood. We know that. And we get it. We get Jesus getting apprehended. Now, here's a little bit what I was talking about, layout and story. See, I think growing up the way I grew up, 90s comics, 90s style, we would want sequences like this to be bigger, more bombastic, more larger, bigger panels, more aggressive faces. But we don't get that. And a little bit of the reason why we don't get that, and we're dealing with skilled, capable artists here. But the reason why we don't get it, the reason why we don't get like a cool shot of the ear getting cut, is because we're communicating. And that's the key takeaway. Communicate the idea, and it's almost like a play-by-play. We're just going through the word balloons. This is a little bit of, my criticism when it comes to people who make docucomics. They're not entertaining. The story here is so engaging, it's entertainment by default, because it really is. So anyway, so Judas, he gets the rooster. Jesus says, by the time the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. And Jesus is like, holy crap, Jesus's prophecy came true. What have I done? And he tries to recant, but by this time they are whooping on our boy. Jesus is getting the beatdowns, and this is where I think we're a little bit successful, because the local priests are like, look, Jesus, you're kind of a revolutionary. You're upsetting the balance. We have to get rid of you. And that's their position. Like, we're called it like the local priests, the local wise men. But look, it goes to Pilate. Pilate's our governor. He's here to keep the peace. He's here specifically to keep the peace. Now, I need to kind of just make the note, and you guys know I always make this observation. The coloring and the color tone here, we go from night to one location to a third location within the spread, and we really don't have a lot of color cues to signal that to the reader. That's a big mishap. That's a no-go. You guys know I do not like that. But Pilate's like, look, Jesus, I think you're good. I guess I'll send you to Horde. And Horde's like, well, he's like, well, let's give you a robe. But Horde really doesn't do anything but like beat him. So like that's crappy. But no one's really making a move on the big J here. And that's significant. Because if we were to consider that these stories, let's just take like kind of like the atheist position. That these stories are just passed down and they're lore. Like just like Robin Hood or Excalibur. You have to say Pilate, like in the age of Rome, as well documented as Rome is. I mean, I'm going to Italy in 2 months. Rome's documented, people. But to kind of trick a Roman governor, King Horde, like all the priests, right? Like you kind of have to say something's happening beyond the word of mouth. Okay, so with that said, Jesus gets beat. Jesus gets the crown. He gets the robe. And look, you people know, they put him up, and essentially what happens is like Jesus just like doesn't really die on the cross very well. And he forgives everyone, forgives the people he's crucified with. And when Jesus dies, like it's just like thunderous. And even like the Roman centurions are like, oh my God, like he is the Son of God. This is crazy. They tell Pilate allows them to take the body. They take the body, they put him in the tomb. And essentially, like, he comes back And this is important. See, the reason why Jesus comes back in this nature, okay, it's because while he's on the cross, okay, like you want to say the low level people, like the low hanging fruit people, are kind of just like, hey, like where's your God now? Come down from that cross if you are the Son of God. And it's almost as if like if he gives them what their expectations are, he's no better than them. He needs to kind of like level up. And that's essentially the reason why he completely like vanishes on the cross. He moves on to another existence, but comes back in a way that these buttholes were not, they couldn't even conceive of it. And that's always the position when it comes to like a lot of these stories. That's why they're so engaging. But yeah, people, my biggest criticism, this is well drawn, it's well laid out, it does read a little bit textbook. I don't like it, but I feel like for the sake of communicating the ideas, this perfectly does it. The coloring is really what kills this book, because we want to say it's not toned enough. There's not enough tone, even when he's like, things are too bright, even when things get cloudy and he's on the cross. I mean, we're almost dealing with the same hue, the same, like there needs to be more of a difference, because I say this a lot, and take this lesson with you. When you flip through a comic, you're supposed to see the different scenes and the different situations and the different environments. You're supposed to subconsciously capture all that. And when you can't do it, you failed in comic book production. You failed to convey all the ideas, because that's your goal, is communication, period. So people, yeah, Story of Jesus by Marvel. I was expecting a lot worse. I was entertained. Rock and roll. And we're back with the backlight. People hate the backlight. I don't know. I just love that view so much. I just want to show it off, even if it looks a little glowy. But just gotta say one more time, guys. Happy Easter. I hope you're celebrating. I hope you're observing. Look, it doesn't mean you gotta go hardcore into everything that Easter brings, but I feel like it is important to at least honor it, to at least respect it. That's just the age we're in now. Just respect everything, and if your friends are celebrating, be happy for them. If you would like to celebrate, go do it. Commit to something. Commit. But all right. So speaking of commitment, that was a segue there. We're going to get back into hardcore comics. We're going to get back into drawing. We're going to get back into everything. We do have UZI SUZI coming this week. UZI SUZI live streams, Trial by Fire live streams, all coming this week. On my website, there will be product drops. Potentially, the way we're figuring things out, potentially weekly product drops on the website. Either free or paid. One or the other. Rock and roll, guys. I love you.